Welcome to Brainish English Stories.
I don't know if you have noticed, but nothing in this world is ever completely perfect. The only problem with this fun plan was that Jeeves would not be there to see me do it. But apart from that, everything was perfect. The best part was that nothing could go wrong. You know how it usually is when you want person A to be at place B at the same time that person C is at place D. There is always a chance something will go wrong. Think about a general planning a big battle. He tells one group of soldiers to take the hill with the windmill at the same time that another group takes the bridge in the valley. But then everything goes wrong. Later, when they talk about it in the camp, the first group's leader says, "Oh, sorry. Did you say the hill with the windmill? I thought you said the hill with the sheep." And then it's a big mistake. But in this case, that kind of mistake couldn't happen. Oswald and Bingo would already be in their places. The only thing I had to do was bring Anuria there on time. And I did that easily. I asked her to go for a walk in the garden with me because I had something important to tell her. She arrived shortly after lunch in a car with the Braithwaite girl. I was introduced to the girl, who was tall with blue eyes and light-colored hair. I liked her. She was very different from Anuria. If I had more time, I would have liked to talk to her. But I had important work to do. I had planned with Bingo to meet at the bushes at exactly 3 o'clock. So I took Anuria and walked with her toward the lake. "You are very quiet, Mr. Wooster," she said. Her words surprised me. I was thinking very hard at that moment. We could now see the lake, and I was looking around to check that everything was ready. Everything seemed perfect. The boy, Oswald, was sitting on the bridge, and because I couldn't see Bingo, I thought he was in his place. My watch showed that it was 2 minutes after 3. "Ha!" I said. "Oh yes. I was just thinking, you said you had something important to tell me." "Yes, I do." I had decided to start by preparing Anuria for Bingo. I didn't want to say his name yet, but I wanted her to understand that someone liked her very much. "It's like this," I said. "It may sound strange, but someone is very much in love with you. A friend of mine." "Oh, a friend of yours?" "Yes." She laughed. "Well, why doesn't he tell me himself?" "Well, you see, he is that kind of person. He is very shy. He doesn't have the courage to tell you. He thinks you are too good for him. He looks at you like a queen. He admires you so much, but he is afraid to say it. This is very interesting. Yes, he's a good person, really. A bit silly, maybe, but he means well. So that's the situation. Just think about it. Okay? You are very funny." She threw back her head and laughed loudly. Her laugh was very strong, like a train going into a tunnel. It didn't sound nice to me, and Oswald didn't like it either. He looked at us with a very annoyed face. "I wish you wouldn't make that noise," he said. "You are scaring all the fish away." That stopped the conversation for a moment. Then Anuria changed the subject. "I wish Oswald wouldn't sit on the bridge like that," she said. "I don't think it's safe. He could easily fall in." "I'll go and tell him," I said. To walk toward him, I had a strange feeling that I had done this before. Then I remembered. Years ago, at a country house party, I had to act as a butler in a small play for charity. My first job in the play was to walk across the stage and put a tray on a table. During practice, they told me not to walk too fast like a man in a race. So I walked very slowly. Felt like I would never reach the table. The stage seemed huge, and everything was quiet, like the whole world was watching me. Now I felt exactly the same. My throat was dry, and the more I walked, the farther away the boy seemed. Then, suddenly, I was standing right behind him, though I didn't know how I got there. "Hello," I said with a nervous smile. The boy didn't turn around. He only moved his left ear a little, as if he was annoyed. I had never met anyone who seemed to care so little about me. "Hello," I said again. "Are you fishing?" I put my hand on his shoulder in a friendly way. "Hey, be careful," said the boy, shaking a little. It was one of those things that needed to be done quickly or not at all. I closed my eyes and pushed. Something moved. There was a quick noise, a small scream, and a splash. And that was that. I opened my eyes. The boy was coming up to the surface of the water. "Help!" I shouted, looking toward the bush where Bingo was supposed to come out. Nothing happened. Bingo didn't come out at all. "I say, help!" I shouted again. I don't want to talk too much about my past acting experience, but I must mention one more thing. In that play, after I put the tray on the table, a woman was supposed to come on stage and say some lines to let me leave. But on the real night, she forgot. So I had to stand there for a full minute, waiting, until someone found her and pushed her onto the stage. It was terrible, and now it felt just the same, only worse. I finally understood what writers mean when they say, "Time stood still." Meanwhile, little Oswald was still in the water. I didn't like him very much, but I couldn't just let him stay there. The lake looked very dirty and unpleasant from the bridge, but I had no choice. I took off my coat and jumped in. It's strange, but water feels much wetter when you jump in with your clothes on than when you are just swimming for fun. I was only under the water for a few seconds, but when I came up, I felt like one of those bodies in the newspaper that had been in the water for several days. I felt cold and heavy. Then there was another problem. I thought that when I came up, I would grab Oswald and help him to shore. But he didn't wait for me. By the time I cleared the water from my eyes, I saw him swimming 10 yards away. And he was swimming fast. He was using, I think, the Australian crawl. That was the end of my rescue plan. If you want to save someone, they should stay still and wait for you. If they swim away faster than you, what can you do? The whole plan was ruined. I had no choice but to swim back to shore by myself. By the time I got out of the water, Oswald was already halfway to the house. No matter how I looked at it, the whole thing was a complete failure. As I stood there, thinking about what had happened, I heard a loud noise, like a train going under a bridge. It was Honoria Glossop laughing. She was standing next to me, looking at me in a very strange way. "Oh, Bertie, you were so funny," Honoria said. Even at that moment, her words made me feel a little nervous. Before this, she had only called me Mr. Wooster. "You are very wet," she said. "Yes, I am wet," I replied. "You should go into the house quickly and change your clothes." "Yes," I said. "I squeezed a lot of water out of my clothes. Maybe 2 gallons. "You were so funny," she said again. "First, you asked me to marry you in that strange way. Then, you pushed poor little Oswald into the lake just so you could save him and impress me." I was finally able to speak again after clearing the water from my throat. I had to correct this terrible misunderstanding. "No, no," I said. "Oswald said you pushed him, and I saw it too," she said. "Oh, I'm not angry, Bertie. I think it was very sweet of you. But I believe it is time for me to take care of you. You need someone to look after you. I think you have been watching too many movies. If I hadn't stopped you, maybe you would have set the house on fire just so you could rescue me." She looked at me in a way that made me feel like I belonged to her. "I think I can make something of you, Bertie," she said. "You have wasted your life until now, but you are still young. There is a lot of good in you." "No, really, there isn't," I said quickly. "Oh yes, there is. It just needs to come out." Then she spoke in a soft, motherly way. "Now go straight to the house and change your wet clothes, or you will get sick." At that moment, I knew I was in big trouble. After I changed my clothes, I walked downstairs and saw Bingo. He looked very happy. "Bertie," he said, "you are the person I wanted to see." "Bertie, something amazing has happened." "You idiot!" I shouted. "Where were you? Do you know?" "Oh, do you mean hiding in the bushes?" "I didn't have time to tell you. It's all over. All over," I repeated. "Bertie, I was just about to hide in the bushes when something incredible happened. I saw the most beautiful, the most wonderful girl in the world. There is no one like her. Bertie, do you believe in love at first sight? You do, don't you, old man?" He looked like he was in a dream. As soon as I saw her, she pulled me toward her like a magnet, he continued. I forgot everything else. It felt like we were the only 2 people in a world of music and sunshine. I started talking to her. Her name is Miss Braithwaite, Daphne Braithwaite. The moment our eyes met, I knew my love for Honoria Glossop was just a silly idea. "Bertie, you do believe in love at first sight, don't you? She is so wonderful, so kind, like a gentle goddess." At this point, I walked away. I couldn't listen to any more. 2 days later, I received a letter from Jeeves. "The weather is still nice," he wrote. "I had a very enjoyable swim." I gave a short, sad laugh and went downstairs to meet Honoria. She was waiting for me in the drawing room. She was going to read a book by Ruskin to me.